Today we are going to be looking at lesson 2.4, famous landmarks. In this lesson we will be working with tables and links. So before I get started on this activity, let's take a look at our learning objectives for the assignment. Our essential question for this assignment is: how can using tables, images, and links help me organize information and make my work more interesting and useful to others? What am I learning? I'm learning how to use tables, images, and links in Google Docs to organize and share information clearly. Why am I learning it? I'm learning this because knowing how to organize information and connect it to online resources helps me communicate ideas like a professional, skills I'll need for school projects, careers, and everyday life. Finally, how will I know that I've learned it? I'll know I've learned it when my table is neat, easy to read, and includes images and links that work, showing that I can format and organize information in a way others can understand. So before I get started, let's take a look at our assignment page here. On the left-hand side, we have the notes that you should have copied in class. If I click on the little box in the top right-hand corner, I can pop out those notes so that I can see them larger. I also have the steps that we're going to be following today to complete this assignment. Again, if I click on that little pop-out in the top right-hand corner, it's going to open it up to be something larger. And this is what I'm going to be using today. We're looking at the steps that we're going to follow today to complete this assignment. You can either use the pop-out that I showed you that is on the assignment page, or if you're in class, I, as your teacher, have copies, paper copies of these steps, if that's easier for you to follow along with the video while we are doing our work today. So the first thing that I want to do is open my Docs folder and create a new document. So what I'm going to show you how to do is I am going to move this screen here so that it takes up about half of my page, and then I'm going to, in a new tab, open up my drive. I have my Intro to Computers folder open here, and I'm just going to click and drag this over to the right hand side. So I have my steps that I'm following here, either through this video or through assignment directions. And I also have my drive open where I'm going to follow each of these steps. So just to make things a little bit easier to read, I'm going to click on the plus sign down at the bottom of my directions to make them just a little bit bigger. And I'm going to start following what the directions say. So it says to open my MyDocs folder and create a new document. So I'm going to double click on MyDocs, and I'm going to go to New, Google Doc. Step number 2 says to change untitled document to famous landmarks. So I'm going to go ahead and delete untitled document, and I'm going to type famous, not in all caps, famous landmarks, and then hit return. And it's saved in that folder, I can tell because there's a little cloud with a check mark. Step number 3 says at the top of your document, type famous, the title famous landmarks. I'm going to go ahead before I do that, get rid of these tabs and outlines because I don't need them. And I'm going to type what it says here, capital F, famous, capital L, landmarks. And just to make it easier for you to see what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so that you can see what my steps are as I'm doing them. Okay, that should be big enough. Step number 4 says to center align, bold, and change the font size of the title to 24. So I'm going to click and drag my mouse to select. I'm going to find my center align button, and I'm going to center align it. I'm going to find my bold button, and I'm going to bold it. And then I'm going to find my font size button, and I'm going to change it to 24. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hit return 2 times. And then it tells me to clear formatting. I remember from my notes from previous times that clear formatting is going to be the T that's crossed out, but I don't see it on my menu bar. So I have to click on my three dots, and here is to formatting. And you can see that it's taken my cursor back over to the left-hand margin, and I can continue on with my steps from here. So step number 6 is inserting a table. So I want to go back to the notes that we took in class, and I want to talk a little bit about what a table is. Okay, so we kind of all have an idea of what a table is. It's important to understand the parts of a table as well, because we're learning that language, that academic language, and I'm going to use it quite frequently in this assignment as well as in future assignments that we may do in class. So just so that we are clear, a column goes up and down. Okay, so these are all columns. That's column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. There could be an infinite, so many numbers of columns, but for this example, we just have 4 columns here, so the columns go up and down. And then our rows go left to right. So in this example here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. Okay, so again, rows go left to right, columns go up and down, and then rows go left to right. Now the only other thing to remember when it comes to columns and rows is that the row up at the top is called a header row. This will usually be where the heading is that titles all the information that's in that column. So for example, we could have a header here that has name and then a list of names underneath it. We could have student ID number, and then the list of student ID numbers that go with each of those names would be right next to it in that column. Okay, so, and the header row is still a row. It's just going to be the row that names what is in each of these columns. Okay. Now within each of these columns and rows, we have these boxes. So the cross of the boxes, the cross of the row and the cross of the columns, these boxes are called cells. I didn't label every single one, but each of these is called a cell. Even though in the example it's not named a cell, it is a cell. So these boxes here are called cells. So again, a column goes up and down, a row goes left to right. The row at the very top is called a header row, and then each of the boxes inside of the table is called a cell. Okay, so going back to our directions, let's look at step number 6, which is to insert a table. So the directions say from the insert menu, select insert table with 3 columns, remember going up and down, and 6 rows. Those will go left or right. Okay, so we're going to do that first. So I'm going to go over to my document, and I'm going to go to insert table. And then it wants me to insert a table with 3 columns, so that's 1, 2, 3 columns and 6 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 3 columns and 6 rows. A 3 by 6 table. You can see it says it there in the little box. So we're going to use the tab key, or you can use arrow keys to move from cell to cell. So remember, each of these little boxes is called a cell. So if I want to move from each one forward, I'm going to use the tab key. Okay, you can see that my cursor is moving through the different cells. I can also use my arrow keys to go up. I can use them to go right. I can use them to go down. I can use them to go left. Okay, so again, using my tab key or my arrow keys to navigate or to go through, move through each of those cells. It tells me I'm going to type the information exactly as I see here. So the first cell in the header row, I'm going to type landmark. Then I'm going to hit the tab key and type image. And then I'm going to hit the tab key and type link. And then I'm going to hit the tab key and type Eiffel Tower. I'm going to use my arrow to go down, and I'm going to type Great Wall of China. And then I'm going to use my arrow key to go to the next cell and type Taj Mahal. And then the next cell with my arrow key down, Statue of Liberty. And then last cell down, I'm going to type Sydney Opera House. So again, here are my columns going up and down, my rows going left to right with my header row at the top. This header names all of the items in this column. So these are all landmarks around the world. And then we're going to be doing today adding images and then adding links. Okay, so if you haven't done so already, please pause this tutorial and type your information into your table. Okay, so we have a table on our document. Let's move on to step number 7. So step number 7 is a review. We're going to click and drag our mouse to select row 1, so those headers, landmark, image, and link. So this is row 1. It's a header row, but it's still called row 1. So I'm going to click and drag my mouse. 1. You can see it now highlights the whole box, okay, the whole cell. These are correct academic vocabulary. I'm going to center line, bold, and change the font size to 14. So I'm going to go to align and indent and center align. I'm going to go to bold and bold. And I'm going to go to my font size and I'm going to change it to 14. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to step number 8, and this is also a review where I triple click and bold the text Eiffel Tower in column 1. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, triple click, and I'm going to go up to my bold, and I'm going to bold Eiffel Tower. Okay. Now it says I'm going to use paint format, and this is a new step, paint format. So what that does is it copies the formatting for this cell, and we're going to apply that formatting to all the other cells that are in column 1. Okay, so if I go back to my notes that I took, my paint format looks like a little paint roller, and this is what I'm going to use to copy this font or this formatting style for the rest of these cells. So while this is still highlighted blue, so while this is still selected blue, I'm going to click on the paint format icon, that little paint roller. So now it's highlighted blue as well. And then I'm going to click and drag my mouse. You can see here that the little paint roller is next to my cursor. I haven't let go of my mouse yet. And then when I let go, they are all now bold. Okay. So I'm going to show that to you one more time. I'm going to Command Z to undo what I've just done. And I'm going to triple click Eiffel Tower, which I've made bold. I'm going to go to my little paint format, my little paint roller, and I'm going to click on that. And then without letting go, I'm going to click and drag my mouse and then let go. And now those are bold as well. So if you have not done that yet, please pause the video and do that for me now. Continuing on, step number 10 tells us to open a new tab. So we're going to do Command T to open a new tab, and then we're going to go to Wikipedia and search for Eiffel Tower. So in my window for my Google Doc, I'm going to do Command T to open a new tab, and then I'm going to go to wikipedia.org, hit return. And then I'm going to search for Eiffel Tower. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is another new step where I'm going to copy an image. So we're going to right click on the image of the Eiffel Tower, just the first one, the main one that's on the page. And then I'm going to click, I'm going to copy that image. So I'm going to right click. And it's very important to select copy image. okay? Not the image address, the image. So we're going to copy image. So again, if I right click and I scroll down to copy image, that is what I want to do. Okay, you can see that it's telling me that my image has been copied. So it's saved on an imaginary clipboard for me to paste someplace else. Step number 12 says to return to my lesson document, click inside the cell in column 2, row 2, and paste the image with Command V. So I'm going to go back to my Google Doc like it says. I'm going to click inside the cell that is in column 2, row 2, so that's this one here, and I'm going to paste Command V. Okay. So let me show that to you one more time. So I went to Wikipedia and I searched up Eiffel Tower, and then I'm going to right click on the picture of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm going to copy the image, and then I'm going to go back to my Google Doc, and in the cell that's next to Eiffel Tower and under image, so it's in row 2, column 2, I'm going to Command V and I'm going to paste it. So if you haven't done that yet, please pause this tutorial and do that now. So my next steps, steps 13 and 14, are two new things that I'm learning: how to resize an image and how to crop an image. So if I go back to the notes that we took in class, resizing and cropping are shown down at the bottom of our notes. These were the newest notes that we took. So when I click on an image, these boxes are going to appear. These are my resizing boxes. These little boxes are called a resizing handle, okay? When you're resizing an image, always make sure that you resize it from the corners. If you don't resize it from the corners, your picture is going to end up looking smooshed, either skinny or flat. So resizing it from the corners makes sure that you resize it evenly on all sides. So if I click on my picture of the Eiffel Tower, you can see that these little resizing handles have shown up. And then when I resize them, I want to resize from the corner. So I'm going to click and drag, and you can see that it's resizing it evenly around the picture. Okay, now if I were to resize it from the sides, it's going to turn out skinny. I want that. Okay, if I resize it from the top or the bottom, it's going to turn out flat. You don't want that either. Okay, so again, make sure that when you're resizing a picture, you're resizing it from the corners. Okay, the next thing that we're seeing here is our cropping handles. Now, you don't see your cropping handles on here right now. All you see are your resizing handles. So if I am clicking on a picture, I'm just going to click somewhere white on the white area just to reset my picture. I'm going to double click, and now my cropping handles have shown up. Okay, cropping is different from resizing because it's not going to change the size of the picture. It's just going to delete any information outside that you don't want. So for example, if I click and drag my mouse here, it's not going to change the size of my Eiffel Tower. It's just going to take out this light blue stuff that I've cropped out, okay? So that if I now click on the white, that stuff is gone, all right? So let me add it back in. Again, I'm going to double click on the picture to show my cropping handles. If I just click on it once, it's my blue resizing handles. If I click twice, I have my cropping handles, these black ones, okay? So again, these don't necessarily have to be resized from the corners. It just makes it a little bit neater and easier to see what you're taking out. It gets a little bit more even if you crop it from the corners. So practice doing that with your picture. Again, it can get tricky, as you can see. Even me, who's been doing this for a really long time, it gets stuck a little bit. But one time to show your resizing handles, and 2 times real quick. We want to get those cropping handles, which is never easy to do. You can also do the crop image, and that will show up as well. Okay, so If you're having trouble the way that I'm having trouble getting those cropping handles to show up, you can click it once and then you can right click and select crop image, and that will show up for you as well. So just play around a little bit with the cropping and the resizing. Again, remember, resize from the corners so that it doesn't come out flat or skinny. Resizing from the corners, and then cropping to get out any extra that doesn't really need to be there to still show the picture. Let's move on to step number 15, where we will be learning how to insert a link. So let's look first at the steps. We're going to triple click to select the Wikipedia page web address for the Eiffel Tower and do Command C on our keyboard. On our table, we're going to click inside the link cell in row 2, and we're going to type Eiffel Tower Wikipedia. We will click and drag our mouse to select Eiffel Tower Wikipedia that we've just typed, and then we're going to click Command K on our keyboard to insert a link. In the window that says Search or Paste Link, we're going to Command V to paste our Wikipedia link and then click Apply. So now that we've talked about each step, let's look at it a little bit closer. So when we go back to our notes, and our little drawing here of a tab in Chrome, we have our close, our minimize, and our full screen buttons in the top corner. They're in the top corner up here. They're also in the top corner over here. And then we have our web address bar. So that would be this right here. This is our web address bar. So if I go to Wikipedia, I'm going to be, as the directions tell me, I'm going to triple click, or I can click and drag. And then on my keyboard, I'm going to copy by clicking Command C. Okay. I can also do right click and copy. Okay. Now it tells me to go back to my table and click inside the link cell in row 2. So here's the link cell in row 2. And it tells me to type Eiffel Tower Wikipedia. So I'm going to do that. Eiffel Tower Wikipedia. My next step is to click and drag my mouse to select what I've just typed. So click and drag. And then on my keyboard, click Command K. So Command K. In the little box that says search or paste a link, it tells me to paste the link that I've just copied from Wikipedia, Command V on my keyboard, and then click apply. Now I want to make sure this works by clicking on that, and then a little preview of the web page should open up. If I click on the picture here, then the page itself should open up. So do make sure that each of your links work before you move on. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to have you go ahead and pause the video. If you need to re-watch, that's the point of these videos, but pause the video and add a link to the Eiffel Tower Wikipedia page. Alright, now that I've inserted a link for the Eiffel Tower Wikipedia page on my table, I'm going to move on to step number 16. And it looks like for step number 16, I'm just going to repeat these same steps again, but for the Great Wall of China. So now I'm working in row number 3, columns 2 and 3. So what I'm going to do is just talk through these steps first. Is I don't need to open a new tab because I already have it open here, and I'm going to search for instead Great Wall of China, which I've already done. So I'm going to type Great Wall of China up here just to show you what I've done. Okay, so I've got my Great Wall of China page. I'm going to copy the image, so just the first image that we see here on the page. I'm going to right click and select copy image. Then I'm going to go back to my table and I'm going to put it inside this cell for the image of the Great Wall of China. So I'm going to put it here. Okay, and then it tells me that I'm going to crop it and then resize and crop it. So just to get out the excess that doesn't really matter, to make it a little bit smaller. because if I look ahead, it tells me that I have to resize and trim the images to make sure that the table fits on one page. So that's something I need to look ahead to when I am resizing and cropping my images. And then I'm going to insert a link that will take me to the Great Wall of China Wikipedia page. So let's do each of these things. You can follow along with me, or you can watch the tutorial, watch me do it, and then pause and do it yourself. The whole point of these tutorials is to rewatch what you don't understand. So as many times as you need to rewatch it, that's what it's here for. So I'm at my Great Wall of China page. I'm going to go ahead and right click, and I'm going to make sure I select copy image. And then I'm going to go back to my landmarks table, and I'm going to paste. I can either right click and paste, or I can do Command V and paste. Now I want to resize it, so if I click on it once, I have my resizing handles. I'm going to make sure I resize from the corners. And I want to work on cropping it. So if I click it twice, and remember, if you're having trouble, the way sometimes this happens, I can also right click and crop. And then I'm going to use my cropping handles to crop off just a little bit off the top and just a little bit off the bottom. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do is insert a link. So I'm going to go back to my Great Wall of China Wikipedia page, and I'm going to select all of this in the web address bar. So I'm going to select the entire web address. I'm going to Command C. I could also right click and copy. Then I'm going to go back to my famous landmarks table, and I'm going to type Great Wall of China Wikipedia. Then I'm going to click and drag my mouse to select. My directions tell me to do Command K to insert a link, so I'm going to do Command K. And then I'm going to Command V to paste and click Apply. I want to check my work before I move on, so I'm going to go ahead and click. My little preview opens up. If I click on the preview, nope, I don't know why that just happened. If I click on the preview, it now takes me to that Wikipedia page. So I know that my steps worked, and I can move on to the next step in my directions. So if you haven't done the Great Wall of China yet, go ahead and pause this tutorial and do that for me now. Alright, so I've finished my Eiffel Tower row and my Great Wall of China row. Step number 17 is to complete the remaining rows, so Taj Mahal, Statue of Liberty, and the Sydney Opera House. So I'm not going to go through each of those step by step with you. I will do Taj Mahal, and then I will stop the video, and when we return, Statue of Liberty and Sydney Opera House will be done. So the expectation is that you can follow along with me as I work through the Taj Mahal, and then do Statue of Liberty and Sydney Opera House on your own. Or you can, if you're feeling confident, do Taj Mahal, Statue of Liberty, and Sydney Opera House on your own, and then come back to this video to finish the rest of the steps. So I'm just going to talk through what I'm doing. I'm going to go to my Wikipedia page, and in the search bar I'm going to type Taj Mahal. And here is my picture here. Just this first one is fine, so I'm going to right click and copy. And then I'm going to go back to my table and I'm going to paste. If I click on it once, I'm going to resize. I'm going to make it about the same size as the Great Wall of China. And then I can either try to double click if it's not working. The directions do say to right click and select cropped image, so I'm going to go ahead and just do that from now on. Right click and crop image. Okay. And really only this top part can be taken off, so I'm going to go ahead and move that cropping handle down a little bit. Okay, and then in my link box, I'm going to type Taj Mahal Wikipedia. And I'm going to go back to my Taj Mahal Wikipedia page, and I'm going to copy the web address from the web address bar. And I'm going to go back to famous landmarks, and I'm going to select Taj Mahal Wikipedia. On my keyboard, I'm going to do Command K, and in the box, I'm going to do Command V, then click Apply. I want to make sure it works before I move on, so I'm going to click. You see that I have the web address here, and if I click on the picture, it should take me to the Taj Mahal Wikipedia page. So at this point, I'm not going to show you Statue of Liberty or Sydney Opera House. You should be able to do those two on your own. So go ahead and stop the tutorial, do these two landmarks, Statue of Liberty and Sydney Opera House, and then come back and we will continue on together. Alright, so I've finished the rest of my table. I also want you to notice that I have resized and cropped all of my pictures to make sure that my table fits on one page. Now there are some reflection questions, so I do want to make sure that the reflection questions also fit onto one page. So I may go back and resize these again after I've finished my reflection questions. So before we move on to the rest of this assignment here, the rest of these steps, I do want to make sure that we have everything working. So what I will be checking and grading on is to make sure that these are all Wikipedia links, that they actually say Great Wall of China Wikipedia, the Taj Mahal Wikipedia. If you have them so that they do this, and it says that, you will not get credit for that. Okay, because that's the actual link. I don't want the link. I want it to say Sydney Opera House with the link connecting to the Wikipedia page. So do make sure that you have done all of that as well. If you need help, please let me know and I can help you. Okay, but again, do want to make sure that it fits onto one page. So there are no other review formatting edits. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the reflection questions. So it says below the table, hit return or enter 2 times. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and I have the reflection question. And it says, how can organizing information in a table with images and links make a document easier for readers to understand and use in the real world? So you're going to go ahead and answer that question. Okay, and then reflection 2, the question is, what did you learn about using images and links responsibly when creating digital content that can help you in the school, future jobs, or personal projects? And part of what I want you to understand is that you always have to tell who your source is, where you get information, right? Like if you're on TikTok and you post somebody else's picture that they might have taken of you, you want to give them credit, right? So it's the same thing with any other kind of document. If you didn't actually take the picture yourself, you want to make sure that you give the reader that source information. So here, we didn't take this picture of the Sydney Opera House, but it came from the Wikipedia page. So by giving the reader this link, we're letting them know that this is where we got this picture. And if we were to continue this document to like add facts about each of these landmarks or whatever, then providing that link lets the reader know where that information came from, that we didn't just find it ourselves and come up with it on our own. We actually got that information from somebody else. So you do want to make sure that using images and links, that they credit the person or the place where you got that information. And that's definitely something that will help you in the future, is knowing how to do that. So after you've answered reflection 1 and reflection 2, then what you should do is make sure that you followed every single step. If this is longer than 1 page, then you need to go back and resize your images to make sure that everything fits onto 1 page. So I'm going to say that again to make sure that it's very clear. Everything must fit onto 1 page. So if you have to resize your images to do that, you need to go back and do that as well. Okay. So our submission steps are to download this as a PDF. So I'm going to go to File, Download, PDF, and then I'm going to submit this onto Canvas. Once it's been submitted onto Canvas, I want to make sure I put it in the trash because my whole goal is to keep my desktop clear.